Tonight, the hunt for the arsonist who set this Perth tobacco shop ablaze. Police release new video.
Revenge attacks. Israel launches missiles at Iran. Military bases the target.
3 lives lost. A terrifying mid-air tragedy as 2 light planes collide.
Perth's property market. Some better news on the horizon for home buyers.
And harnessing star power. Beyonce enlisted to help in the race to become the next US president.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Angela Tsun and Tim McMillan.
Good evening, welcome to 7 News. A new clue tonight in the hunt for an arsonist who set a Perth tobacco store on fire.
Police have tonight released new security vision that they hope might give them the breakthrough they need to catch the criminals.
This Midland tobacco shop goes up in smoke, an arsonist still on the run. This Nissan Navara was deliberately driven into the building in the early hours of yesterday morning. You can't see it, but you can hear it. Police today released this CCTV. It shows just how intense the fire was as the building burned. A man then captured on camera running away from the destruction. The tobacco shop gutted. 4 neighbouring businesses on Great Eastern Highway are badly damaged.
There's not much that's salvageable, so we'll probably have to start from scratch.
Detectives are working to find out who is behind this targeted attack and, more importantly, if the tobacco wars we've seen in the east have made their way here to Perth.
Rachel Tassika, 7 News.
Israel has unleashed its promised retaliation over Iran's missile attack just 3 weeks ago. Military sites in 3 parts of Iran have been hit.
Israel says this was a targeted, calculated attack. In the last few hours, it said its retaliation is over, but if Iran launches missiles, it's obligated to fight back.
The sound of retribution. Repeated explosions across Tehran as Israel launched a wave of missiles.
Right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran.
Those targets confined to Iran's capital and the nearby city of Karaj. From a bunker in Tel Aviv, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his defence minister and military chiefs closely followed the attack. One that involved dozens of fighter jets, Israeli military sources insisting they did not include energy infrastructure or nuclear facilities. Iranian state media initially reported on the blasts.
Minutes ago, several powerful explosions have been heard in Tehran.
Later, Tehran officials claim the blast came from air defence systems around the city, Israel launching its long-promised response to this. An onslaught of almost 200 ballistic missiles fired from Iran on October 1st, most intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defence system or shot down with American help.
Like every other sovereign country in the world, the State of Israel has the right and the duty to respond.
Israel's now fighting a war on 3 fronts, unleashing more strikes against Hezbollah in southern Beirut and hitting a neighbourhood in Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip, killing 36 people. Among them, Palestinian officials say more than a dozen children. More roadblocks in the push for a ceasefire that would see the return of around 100 hostages still held by Hamas.
The UK and the US have thrown their support behind Israel, but both have been hands off when it came to this retaliatory strike on Iran. Early information suggests that Israel has gone after Iran's military assets. That will come as a huge relief to its allies, particularly at the White House, which has been working behind the scenes to dissuade Israel from going after Iran's nuclear and oil facilities. The last thing the Biden administration wants right now, a week out from the election, is to be dragged any further into this regional conflict. The big question now, will Iran respond, and will this dangerous tit-for-tat continue? And
Ash, thank you. 2 light planes have collided in the skies over New South Wales. 3 people are dead.
As one of the planes came down, it sparked a fire in bushland. Air safety investigators tonight trying to figure out what went so terribly wrong.
Smoke on Sydney's southwestern outskirts, the first sign something horrible had happened.
We tragically located the remains of an aircraft that had caught fire on impact with the ground. That's a sad and tragic outcome.
Just before midday, two light aircraft collided mid-air. Locals heard the crash, engines spluttering, then the impact.
We were inside and we heard a big bang, big loud bang, and then we just sort of went outside to have a look, and we've seen a lot of big thick black smoke coming from the back of our property.
Both planes hitting dense scrub, a vast debris field, two crash sites a kilometre apart. It sparked bushfires and a massive emergency response as fire crews put out flames. Paramedics confirmed the worst. There were no survivors. This was one of the planes, a yellow Cessna 182 with two people on board. It had earlier left Cessnock Airport bound for Wollongong. The other plane, a white-coloured Jabiru, had only just taken off from the nearby Oaks landing ground when they somehow collided. How that happened, now the subject of a major investigation by the Australian Transport Safety Bureau. It's understood the smaller Jabiru that left this airfield had only been airborne minutes when the collision happened. It's home to two flight schools and a tight-knit community of pilots who all want answers. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
Some good news tonight for anyone hoping to buy a home in Perth. New figures indicate that market control is starting to swing away from sellers. The biggest factor that could drive market balance might surprise you.
It's a home truth for buyers. The price continues to rise in Perth, but our market is beginning to balance out. We hit a decade-low number of listings in July, just over 2,500. This month, that number has crept back up to over 4,000.
We'd consider 12 to 14,000 to be a balanced market. So while it's still very, very hot, there are some signs that it is actually softening just a touch.
The main contributor, the completion of homes, particularly those held up by the COVID logjam. The three things affecting price: supply, supply, supply.
There's been very few people holding off from buying that want to buy.
WA's population hit 3 million this week. It's the fastest growing state in the nation. But another massive factor, the state of our engine room, the resources sector.
All we would need is mining to ease back a little bit and there to be a shift of labour from the mining industry back to the construction industry, because those skills are very, very interchangeable.
Right now, iron ore is selling for about $100 per tonne. That's less than half of what it peaked at 3 years ago. If fewer high-paying FIFO jobs are on the table, not only could we see more tradies on site, but less migrants from over east. For now, with houses up another 2.8% since the start of spring, selling season will stay for the sellers. Lockie Burns, 7 News.
Voting in Queensland has closed. Counting has begun to determine who will govern the state. Exit polls suggest a close result. Some, though, have predicted a change in power.
From kissing a baby to a democracy sausage. This is Election Day Queensland style. The opposition leader, David Crisafulli, set tongues wagging with his early start.
You can forgive me for getting out of bed earlier and working harder and campaigning every minute of today.
After a campaign defined by youth crime, he cast his ballot in a seat neighbouring a Labor electorate, one that's tipped to fall to prominent anti-crime campaigner Russell Field. His son killed alongside his pregnant fiancée by a teen in a stolen car on Australia Day 2021.
Any crime is too much crime.
There will be fewer victims, and I'm so committed to it.
In the past week, Premier Stephen Miles has bench-pressed and jet-skied back from certain defeat, tightening the two-party preferred and primary vote, announcing cost of living measures like 50-cent public transport and free school lunches, and at the 11th hour challenging a Liberal-led government to say whether or not it would vote on rewriting abortion laws.
I know that Queensland women will be asking themselves, am I sure?
The campaign, a test of the national mood, fought on housing, cost of living and health, key issues which will dominate the federal election, as well as the minor parties.
We're very excited to be able to smash apart the two-party system.
Now potential deal makers in the Sunshine State. Hayden Nelson, 7 News.
Kamala Harris has called in some superstar power in her quest to be president. She shared the spotlight with Beyoncé, rallying for reproductive rights in Texas. Donald Trump called out his opponent for spending time with celebrities as he recorded an interview with America's #1 podcaster.
H-Town.
In her hometown, Houston, Texas,
I'm here as a mother.
Beyoncé adds her voice to one of the biggest issues of this US election, abortion.
A mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in. A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies.
Texas is Republican territory. Tonight's Democratic rally,
reproductive freedom is on the ballot in this presidential election.
a strategic choice to highlight the state's strict abortion ban.
I was finally close enough to death to deserve health care.
Here, there are no exceptions for rape or incest.
Women are unnecessarily becoming ill and dying.
Anti-abortion protesters briefly crashing the event.
We will not get distracted.
This star support behind Kamala Harris not lost on Donald Trump, who was also in Texas today for a podcast interview.
We're rolling. Joining Joe Rogan and his tens of millions of listeners as Trump makes a play for young male voters.
I do things that make it, that don't necessarily make me so popular. I just do what's right.
The chat running over, leaving his supporters in Michigan waiting at a rally for almost 3 hours.
We got so tied up and I figured you wouldn't mind too much because we're trying to win.
Late, but still delivering to a thinned-out crowd in a race that remains a dead heat. In Houston, Texas, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Australia has joined other Commonwealth countries in agreeing to an ocean declaration. It's a commitment to reduce emissions and combat rising sea levels.
With the heads of government meeting now over, the King has ended his Australia Samoa tour. And today it was Anthony Albanese feeling the Pacific love.
Decked out in green and gold, Samoans embrace the colours and spirit of Australia. A warm Pacific Island welcome for the Prime Minister in Satapuala. A special ceremony waiting. Anthony Albanese given a chiefly title. Toiole Sulo Sulo, the highest honour in this village. Drinking kava, gifted a fly whip and staff.
Can I thank you from the bottom of my heart?
The Prime Minister meeting local chiefs.
Thank you very much.
At a ceremony usually reserved for community leaders.
It was a great honour and it's something that I will remember.
On his last day in Samoa, taking selfies. Caught in a scrum of his own making as he handed out footballs.
Here we go, Australia!
We are so happy.
These villages are a long way from diplomatic negotiations, but this visit means a lot to the Samoan people who are hoping that economic opportunity follows.
Elsewhere, King Charles was given his second chiefly honour. The monarch and Queen Camilla meeting locals in a village decorated just for them.
Hope that I survived long enough to come back again and see you all.
Their Majesties flying out tonight after days of talks on climate change and regional security. The Prime Minister hoping China sees this. The Pacific police officers Australia helped train.
The security threat to any one of us is a threat to all of us.
In Apia, Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
The Hindu Festival of Light is on this weekend. WA's Indian community packing out Burswood Park as we go to air tonight. Lockie Byrne joins us live from Burswood. Hello, Lockie.
Tim, good evening. Well, Diwali is just about the biggest holiday on the Indian calendar and there's no holding back this weekend. Food, stalls, entertainment, fireworks are all part of the fun down here. And now, while India is just about our biggest rivals in cricket, they are coming together with some of our cricket stars this weekend. We've got Alana King and Ashton Agar here. Kingy, you both two of Cricket Australia's multicultural ambassadors. What does it mean being down here tonight?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, obviously, getting everyone involved in the Indian culture. It's a festival of lights, so hopefully a great light show towards the back end of the night.
And you personally, you've grown about a foot since the last season, but the WBBL does start tomorrow. How are the Scorchers shaping up?
Yep, paying a lot of support to this box right now. So other than that, no, Scorchers are looking really good. Everyone's really excited. Obviously, we don't have Soph and Hema with us, but we're excited to kick off our first game at the WACA tomorrow.
And Ash, we've got the West Test in just under a month now. How excited is the cricket community, and how great is it to have WA kicking off the summer of Test cricket?
It's all everyone has spoken about here before when we were in that little booth. Everyone is excited for the West Test, to have the first test of the summer and two of the biggest teams in the world going at it. I mean, cricket doesn't exist without India. Everyone wants to watch them play their superstars, and I know the boys are really excited to play against them, so it's going to be fantastic for cricket and for Western Australia.
Well, thanks for your time, guys. We are all excited for the West Test, and we're all excited for Diwali this weekend. It's down here at Burswood Park until 9:30 tonight, and then again tomorrow from 3 p.m. until 9:30. Ange?
Thanks, Lockie. Enjoy. Charlotte Goodlet's got the latest weather details.
And Charlotte, some hot days on the way.
Good evening, Tim and Ange. Yesterday will feel quite mild compared to what we've got in store. That's not to say it wasn't lovely. We reached 22.5 degrees. 13 was our low overnight. It was a little windy in some parts, particularly this afternoon. 25 degrees was the top at the airport, and much of the coast made it to a top of 21. Now, we do have mostly clear conditions in Perth and the southwest. A surface trough is driving that cloud we can see through the top of the state, and that's also where we're seeing some really hot temperatures. Today, the Pilbara really copped it. 13 degrees above average in Port Hedland when it hit 45. Perth's also going to end October with some very warm weather, not quite getting into the 40s, but wait until you see the forecast. I'll have those details for you a little later. Tim and Ange.
Thank you, Charlotte. You're watching 7 News. Still ahead tonight, a warning about a danger lurking in WA homes.
The rubbish some people throw out that's putting lives at risk. An explosive problem, the nuisance causing some unwelcome fires.
A daring rescue, the moment firefighters save a woman from a burning home.
The unique way Aussie scientists are solving some ocean mysteries.
And a piece of Australian aviation history grounded for good.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.
In breaking news, a mum and her children have escaped a two-car collision in Perth's northern suburbs. Two vehicles collided just after 5 this afternoon near the intersection of Beach Road and Redcliffe Avenue. One of the cars ended up on its roof. Paramedics were assessing the family at the scene.
Perth councils are sounding the alarm over a surge in lithium-ion battery fires. They've been happening in rubbish trucks and at waste facilities. They want households to stop throwing out the flammable products in regular bins.
A monster inferno. This recent truck fire fuelled by lithium batteries. When they burn, they're almost impossible to stop. This load of burning rubbish dumped in the middle of a Perth road. The truck driver forced to unload after a lithium battery overheated.
So that in itself puts the community and that particular suburb and that road at risk.
On average, there are 3 fires a week in rubbish trucks and waste facilities across WA, 30 a day nationally. The cause, things disposed of incorrectly, overheating and catching alight.
It must be a grave concern if you're there in that industry. You're driving one of those trucks, which is a service that we all value, and then you're at risk of the truck going up in flames.
A survey found 1 in 5 households dispose of batteries in regular bins. Just 4% of us recycle them.
We all need to be more diligent in what we're doing. In some of the large stores like Coles, Woolworths and Aldi, they have battery bins.
Lithium-ion batteries cause a huge headache for firefighters. They've already been called out to more than 90 fires so far this year. 2024 now on track to be the worst on record.
It's that chain of responsibility that we all have about the products that we buy. And if they've got a lithium battery in them, we just have to be really, really careful.
One person's trash becoming someone else's problem. Rachel Tassica, 7 News.
Mining giant BHP has reached a compensation deal with Brazil's government. It'll pay more than $45 billion over the collapse of a massive waste dam at an iron ore mine in 2015. It caused one of the country's worst environmental disasters. 19 people were killed, forests flooded, even a local river was polluted. Under the agreement, the first $1 billion must be paid in 30 days. The rest can follow in instalments over the next 20 years. Matthew Perry's mother has shed light on the heartbreaking last moments she shared with her son. She's recalled her harrowing premonition before his death.
There was an inevitability to what was going to happen next to him. But he said, "I'm not frightened anymore."
Matthew Perry died almost a year ago. He was 54.
First responders have rushed to save a woman trapped in the basement of a home in the US. Body-worn cameras capturing the moment she was pulled from the inferno.
You're good. There you go. You're good. Taking her out. Go.
The woman was taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. 2 dogs inside the home couldn't be saved.
A final piece of aviation history is being written tonight. The Boeing 717 has completed its last Australian flight.
The unique jet has its engines at the tail, and it's been in our skies for the last 25 years.
A farewell tour city to city. Launceston starting the party for an aviation great about to be parked for good. The Boeing 717 making its final rounds today. 25 years, millions of kilometres, and it seems quite a few fans.
Just flown in from Singapore to fly on the last 717.
I've flown 4 sectors today just to be here on this aircraft.
Qantas invited us on the 717's farewell tour from Tassie to Sydney, where the crew prepared the jet for its retirement flight to Canberra. Only 3 airlines still have the 717. Tonight, that shrinks to 2. Its powerful tail-mounted engines provide a fast and loud takeoff, but for the last few rows, they block the view.
It's the start of our next generation aircraft that's coming in with the A220.
The 717 has another piece of history attached. It is the last aircraft on which there was an attempted hijacking in Australia. May 2003, a man pulled sharpened wooden stakes from his pocket and tried to enter the cockpit. Cabin crew stopped him, averting disaster. One was stabbed, the other left with a black eye. A far more peaceful flight today, sending a workhorse of domestic flying out with style. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Still to come tonight, Perth pays its respects.
Dozens of fans gather at our city's RAC Arena. Emotional tributes after the passing of former One Direction star Liam Payne.
A cheesemaker left red-faced over a 20-tonne cheddar swindle.
A notorious child predator jailed for life, the thousands of victims left in his wake.
And enlisting the help of sea lions to unlock mysteries beneath the waves. That's next.
A special vigil was held in Perth today to mark the passing of former One Direction band member Liam Payne. Dozens of fans came to RAC Arena. They listened to Payne's music, laid flowers and wrote messages for the 31-year-old British artist. He fell to his death from the 3rd story of a hotel in Argentina last week. Reports indicate the singer had a number of different drugs in his system.
The chance to say goodbye and but to be able to come together and not have to do that alone as well.
RAC Arena was where Liam Payne and One Direction first performed in Perth.
A group of neo-Nazis has held a rally outside the Chinese consulate in Melbourne. They want China to extradite the man accused of throwing hot coffee on a Brisbane baby in August. Dozens were there, most wearing face coverings and using vile racial slurs. They eventually left of their own accord. No arrests were made, but Victorian police are investigating.
One of the world's most notorious child predators has been jailed for life. Alexander McCartney targeted thousands of victims from dozens of countries. From behind his keyboard, the so-called catfish even drove a 12-year-old girl and her dad to take their own lives.
From his childhood home in Northern Ireland, Alexander McCartney exploited thousands of young girls around the world, becoming the UK's most prolific catfish.
His offending was on an industrial scale. He had a number of devices and was operating across different time zones.
Time zones including Australia, New Zealand, Europe and the US. Posing as a young girl, he convinced Simran Thomas, an American schoolgirl, to send him intimate images. Then he blackmailed her, threatening to publish the images if she didn't include her younger sister. She said she'd rather kill herself. This part of the emergency call after she found her father's gun.
She fell, shot herself, get some rags and put pressure on that wound, find out to control the bleeding.
18 months later, Simran's father took his own life, unaware his daughter was a victim of the exploitation. Tonight, McCartney is behind bars, sentenced to at least 20 years in prison for exploiting girls around the world and for Simran's death, becoming the first person here in the UK to be convicted of manslaughter without actually meeting his victim.
When you open Snapchat for the first time...
A father in New Zealand describing how McCartney found his daughter through Snapchat.
She thought he was a girl at the time, and that just progressed to sending a topless photo. And then once he had that, he had the power.
Detectives may never know the true number of McCartney's victims, but his conviction has steeled their resolve. In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
An upmarket British cheesemaker has been sensationally scammed out of nearly 22,000 kilos of award-winning cheddar. The manufacturer mistakenly sent 950 wheels of cheese to fraudsters posing as French wholesalers.
Shock initially, complete shock, and then sick to my stomach, angry that this has happened to us, embarrassed.
The great cheese swindle even captured the attention of celebrity chef Jamie Oliver. The dairy's copped a loss of more than $500,000.
Australian scientists are equipping sea lions with cameras to help them explore previously unmapped ocean habitats. A pilot study is solving some of the mysteries of the deep and revealing a lot more about these remarkable creatures.
So much of what's out there remains a mystery. Much of our underwater marine habitat has yet to be mapped. But now scientists are using Australian sea lions as videographers.
These will record for between 8 and 12 hours, so really quite amazing. And then behind those, we place this.
It's a GPS tag recording the female's journey. And how far out are they going?
Oh, that's anywhere out to 150 to 200 kilometres offshore.
A pup may wait on shore for up to 3 days as mum gets to work.
They're diving 24/7. They don't rest.
So no wonder they just sleep when they hit the beach.
Absolutely, absolutely. I imagine running a 3 or 4 day marathon with no sleep and having to eat a banana every 2 or 3 minutes.
But the fruits of the sea are plentiful.
We've seen extraordinary things like a massive octopus, a 2 kilogram octopus that's consumed, and then the very next dive there's a giant cuttlefish.
And the mothers, while tired, are also a little feisty.
I've had several encounters with sharks actually, but there's one with a very big bronze whaler shark, and the female's really aware of the animal and she waits for it to pass and then she bites it on the tail to hurry it along.
For researcher Nathan Angelakis, this game-changing approach provided an amazing first.
We were really lucky to capture footage of a mother taking her pup on a foraging trip to sea, provided us the first direct evidence we have that Australian sea lions are using social learning to pass on foraging skills to their pups.
And passing on to researchers a better understanding of how to protect this underwater world for an animal whose numbers have declined by 60% over the past 40 years. Ron Candelars, 7 News.
Still to come, a WA driver set to serve time in a US jail.
The crash that claimed the lives of an elderly couple. The sentence handed down, how long he'll have to serve.
A pilot's heroic efforts as a seaplane crashes upon takeoff.
The desperate plea from Aussie farmers to avoid a fresh food crisis.
And a robotic world-first performance you need to hear to believe.
And coming up in sport, the Dockers secure a final spot with a gutsy win over the Giants. The Wildcats bounce back in style and driver fury takes over in the F1.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
A well-known speedway racer from Narrogin has been sentenced to 60 days in a US prison over a 2023 car crash in California that killed 2 people. Luke Nardini was driving on Highway 84 near San Francisco when he crossed onto the wrong side of the road and hit an SUV. An American couple in their 80s died from their injuries. Mr Nardini pleaded guilty to 2 counts of misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter. After his jail term, he'll be on probation for a year. During that time, he's been ordered to speak at local high schools about driver safety.
A pilot has heroically dived underwater to save his passengers after their seaplane crashed in the Whitsundays. A wheel had failed to retract on takeoff. It caused the aircraft to flip as it was landing off Whitehaven Beach around 9 this morning. 5 people were assessed by paramedics. 2 suffered minor injuries from their seatbelts.
Farmers want us all to be less choosy when picking out fruit and vegetables. Growers say an avalanche of fresh food going to landfill is unsustainable. Many of them are struggling financially.
Bins and bins of unwanted produce. Ugly avocados, pockmarked zucchinis, crooked asparagus.
Weather's your biggest enemy.
It can dictate the size and appearance of vegetables and determine whether entire crops will sell or go to landfill. Spring has delivered torrential rain and hail.
Hail affects spring onions quite terribly because they get little white marks on them.
They'll taste just the same, with farmers now begging consumers to stop being picky when it comes to appearance.
If you avoid things because they don't look perfect, eventually those things won't be on the shelf anymore.
The vegetable industry is in crisis. Consumption is down and 50% of growers are going backwards financially. 34% are considering leaving the industry by next year.
I think everyone's got a responsibility once you understand the level of waste. I mean, 2.4 billion kilos of fruit and vegetables are left on the farm every single year just in Australia.
Farmers Pick has turned unwanted produce into a business, boxing up farm fresh vegetables that are too big, small or ugly to sell in supermarkets and saving its customers around $30 a week.
Forcing ourselves to eat a few more, we can really turn the tide.
Jackie Quest, 7 News.
More evidence tonight that robots might just be taking over. The world's first performance by a symphony orchestra and a cello-playing robot has taken place in Sweden. The piece was written for the android that plays things a human cannot.
Suddenly there are a lot of ways to play the cellos that I didn't think about before.
The developer is now looking at teaching the robot how to play the violin.
Unbelievable. Anna's here with Sport now. And Anna, the Dockers have locked in a final spot.
Yeah, they have, Ange. They secured their place this afternoon with a gutsy win over the Giants. I'll have all the highlights and coach Lisa Webb next. Plus, the Eagles go down to the Cats, but young gun Ella Roberts breaks a new club record. And the Matildas fight for redemption following their Olympic slump. The Dockers have locked in a final spot and kept their top 4 hopes alive after downing the Giants by 30 points this afternoon. Ash McCarthy starred for Freo with 22 disposals and 3 goals.
Finals bound for the first time since 2022.
The Dockers celebrate another dominant victory.
An important win on the road that's kept Walyalup's top 4 hopes within reach.
If we could get a double chance and be with our home fans in Perth, that would be incredible.
With so much at stake, the Dockers came out firing to lead by 15 at the first change.
Out to McCarthy, the explosive Irish player for the Dockers, slots the opening goal at Henson Park.
But GWS put up a fight.
He's got 2 goals in the quarter and the Giants are right back in it.
Freo had a will and found a way, securing the win by 30 points.
And nails it, and they get one back.
Ash McCarthy starred with 22 disposals and 3 goals.
He's been the player of the game, and she might kick the goal of the game as well. What a start is Ash McCarthy.
Seriously impressive. There's a bit of an Irish flair. I think the first, 3 goals for our Irish players. They're incredible players.
Walyalup now face the Bulldogs next Sunday at home. And Woolwich Marawa have suffered their 4th straight defeat, going down to Geelong by 33 points this afternoon.
A huge haul, a sensational 6 for Aisling Maloney.
Young gun Ella Roberts continued her amazing rise with 33 disposals, a new club record.
McKay down to Roberts on the burst, the snap, on the set play, and Roberts is a star.
The defeat means the Eagles' maiden finals hopes are over.
Geelong is gearing up for their first pre-season with their new recruit. Bailey Smith's teammates are looking forward to his arrival at the Cattery, although not even they know what role he'll play.
He can play anywhere. That's the sort of player we like. Scotty likes to work with, so he can play on the wing, forward, midfield, and that's what we need. Players like that, versatile players. Can't wait to get to work with him. He's a super player and a good bloke too.
The Cats return for pre-season training in late November. Perth Scorchers star Beth Mooney is confident the Wacker ground wicket will settle down in time for their season opener with the Melbourne Stars tomorrow night. It's the same deck where WA lost 8 for 1 in a stunning meltdown against Tasmania.
It's different context. It's obviously T20 cricket in the women's game as well. We don't have too many Billy Stanlakes in our lineup or in the Stars lineup, so we'll wait and see what happens. It's got a couple of days to settle down before the game, obviously.
The game is streaming live and free on 7plus for the first time. Perth Wildcats star Keanu Pinder has lifted his side to their third win of the season, beating the Sydney Kings 87-84 at RAC Arena overnight. With Bryce Cotton out injured, Pinder put on a show with an equal career-high 34 points, 4 rebounds and 4 steals.
Stands in the middle of the court and said, "There's your Pinder surprise right now."
Next up, the Cats face the Illawarra Hawks. Via Sistina smashed the field to claim a historic Cox Plate victory at Moonee Valley. Her jockey James McDonald with a milestone of his own, the youngest man to reach 100 Group 1 victories.
He was the rider down on Tuesday, but today this superstar jockey has experienced the ultimate high. James McDonald, take a bow.
She won like winks. She blended them and it's just a phenomenal performance.
His 100th Group 1 win at just 32 years old, his third Cox Plate victory in a row. J-Mac enjoyed every second of it.
Do it in a Cox Plate. I couldn't even imagine it. Like it's pretty surreal, eh?
3 solo laps around the valley earlier this week, having no effect on Via Sistina.
I think there was a fantastic picture there when I popped myself up and looked at and watched her gallop away. And I think if looks could tell a story, we were stuffed.
When she got up and James got up, the rest of it didn't care. Just forget what happened. She's a good horse. Yeah, I've just done my job to prove it.
The 7-year-old mare in extremely good company, smashing Winks' track record, leaving even her own team in disbelief.
You thought she could win. Did you really think she could win by that far? No, I didn't. I didn't think about it.
When you buy these horses, you hope. Not in your wildest dreams do you think you're going to win a Cox Plate.
A Melbourne Cup pairing imminent. Kate Massey, 7 News.
The Matildas have managed a 1-1 draw against Switzerland in their first game under their new interim coach, Caitlin Ford, finding the net in a first-half penalty.
I think we're a little bit disappointed not to come away with the win, and we wanted to keep a clean sheet tonight. So a few things that we can work on, but I think positive for our first game back together.
The team faces Germany on Tuesday morning. Cam Waters and his monster Mustang mastered the Surfers' Paradise Streets, one of the great settings in world motorsport, from concrete crunching Toyotas, out-of-control utes, perfectly good Porsches smashed, Will Brown's qualifying mishap. You wouldn't have thought the 85-lap opener of the Gold Coast 500 would be virtually clean. Cameron Hill had a crack at racing backwards, only a few mirrors needed replacing. Waters won it scratch-free from pole to checkered flag.
Belongs to a supreme Cam Waters today, who's bolted it together, a beautiful victory.
It's the first time every car has finished a Gold Coast race. They go again tomorrow with all bets off. And Oscar Piastri denies he's switching from McLaren to Red Bull. The Aussie avoided damage during practice for the Mexico F1 Grand Prix. Driver fury when Williams' Alex Albon lost control before clipping Ollie Bierman and blamed Ferrari's reserve driver.
You can see him moving around.
Idiots.
George Russell sparked up the curb before slamming his Mercedes into the wall in the next session. Only egos and vehicles were damaged. That's all in a really big day of sport, guys.
Thank you, Anna. You've done well. Charlotte's back now with the forecast, and Charlotte, it's looking warm.
Good evening, Tim. What a week we've got in store. We could get close to breaking an October record. Those details next.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.
Hello again. We've got a very warm week on the cards, much hotter than what we saw today. 22.5 was our top with blue skies, and we got down to 13 and around 6 this morning. It is currently 17.7 degrees with a south-southwesterly wind blowing. It was a little gusty around some of the suburbs today, especially this afternoon. 23 was the top in Jandakot, 25 in Ellenbrook, while Mandurah hit 21. And it was very steamy in our north. Quite a few spots hit 45 degrees. That included Port Hedland, Marble Bar and Roban. Our southwest was fine, as we can see on the satellite, and that is set to continue tomorrow. The cloud in the state's north clearing too. It will be a little overcast over east, where tomorrow Brisbane could perhaps see a little bit of drizzle. Sydney and Melbourne are looking at a partly cloudy day, blue skies for Adelaide, while Darwin could also see a shower or two with a top of 34 degrees. Thankfully, it will be slightly cooler in the Pilbara tomorrow. Port Hedland still making it over 40 though, 38 the top in Karratha, warmer down south than we saw today, 24 degrees, while Kalgoorlie will go for 28. On Perth local waters, winds are tending southerly to 25 knots from around midday, and seas will be a little lumpy early on, up to 2.5 metres. Back on dry land, we've got a warm 28 degrees, the same low as last night, 13, and then we'll start the week with a forecast top of 32, a little gusty in the morning, warmer still on Tuesday, jumping to 35, 34 on Wednesday. At this stage, Thursday will be our hottest day, 36 on Halloween. That is a little scary. The highest it's ever climbed in October is 37.3, so we could get close, and even if we don't see those temperatures, they are still about 10 degrees warmer than what we'd usually see this month. It is a $20 million mega draw tonight, so have your ticket ready and good luck.
Up next, the winning numbers in tonight's Saturday Lotto draw.
Good evening, Sammy Cheney here, and welcome to tonight's Saturday Lotto Super Draw, draw number 4515. I hope you have your entry ready, because the total Division 1 prize pool for tonight's draw is a magnificent $20 million. Best of luck. Here with me are our draw officials and government supervisor. Let's get started. To win the Division 1 prize, your 6 numbers will need to match the 6 winning numbers in tonight's draw. Let's keep those fingers crossed, because our first numbers out are 42 and also 35. In last weekend's Saturday Lotto draw, 4 lucky entries won the Division 1 prize pool. Wouldn't that be nice? I wonder what dreams they're bringing to life. What would you do if you won tonight? Well, you'll also need 1 and also 43. Your next chance to play is this Monday with Cashcade Celebrations, with an extra $1 million shared across divisions 2 to 6. A perfect way to start the new week. But tonight you'll also need to cross off 25 and also 29. So let's recap those numbers. We have 42, 35, 1, 43, 25, 29. And our supplementary numbers tonight are 19 and also 31. Remember, you can also check your entry in store, online or via the app. Congratulations and good night.
That's 7 News for now. Thanks for joining us.
I'll be back with evening updates. For the latest news, head to 7news.com.au. Stay with us now for the great outdoors.